Me today. Grace is out for today, and right now I thought this would be a good teachable moment for all of you guys joining us. We've talked before. I just really don't believe that you can build a brand or a business without support, and I am so thankful because unfortunately, Sarah Grove, who is going to be the guest today, had a family emergency, couldn't be on, and I am so blessed that I have friends that will come on at the drop of the hat. So I called my good friend Elisa Meredith to be on the show today, and she dropped everything and was able to do this. And so I'm very blessed. So I guess the teachable moment for this is you can't do it alone. You've got to have friends. So Kim Garst and I talk about this all the time, is that we would rather lose business than a relationship. And so I think that is so true. So I'm very thankful for my friend Elisa Meredith. I don't know. I'm turning 50 this year, so I think I'm going through menopause. And so I'm really feeling the feels. But I'm very thankful for Elisa Meredith, so I'm going to bring her on right now. Elisa, thank you so much for being on the show today.
You're welcome. I'll tell you how you can pay me back later.
Oh, great. It's going to come with a cost. We haven't done this for a long time, but I know Brian is here in the audience. He's excited to see us back together. Ian Anderson Gray. Man, Ian, he always does the howdy, howdy, howdy. He kind of mocks my living in Texas, but yes. He was just got done from a big conference, so he probably needs to go to sleep. So how am I going to cope without Grace? Ian asked. It's going to be very difficult because she is the glue that holds it together. So buckle up, Buttercup, because here we go. And yeah, Brian says, great seeing you two back together. Yes, it's going to be a fun show. This is just like the old days. Yeah, see, and I even had to help Elisa with her camera at the beginning. So, yeah. And my friend,
as it should be.
That's right. Gary Stockton, our friend Gary Stockton says, yay, Elisa, way to go. Gary was another one of my good friends. I talked a little bit about It Takes a Village. He popped in one time when we had some issues and helped fill in. So, Gary, thank you for that as well. So I'm going to hit go because Elisa's time is really valuable, and we'll get started here. Hit go on the podcast machine and on Amazon, and we'll get started. Oh, by the way, guys, will you do me a favor? Will you guys share this out across all the interwebs? That really helps us let people know. And also, we've got Elisa here, and I know a lot of people are confused about Pinterest, so this is your chance to ask questions. So make sure you ask your questions down below, and we'll try to bring them up during the show today. Okay, with that, I'll get started. Okay. Hello, folks. Welcome to Social Media News Live. I'm Jeff C., and you're not. And this is the show where we answer and get all your questions about social media here live, so you don't have to. And I'm going to say that again because I blundered it, because that's Grace's line. So let me do that again. Is that all right, Elisa? Okay. Welcome to Social Media News Live. I'm Jeff C., and this is the show that keeps you up to date on what's happening in the world of social media. Are you maybe a little Pinterested about Pinterest? Maybe you've heard that it can drive traffic, but you're really not interested in hair braid tutorials, wedding cakes, or 2022 summer hair color. That's really a thing, folks. If you're really wondering if Pinterest is a fit for your business, well, this is the show for you, because I've got my good friend Elisa Meredith here, and we're going to be talking all about all about Pinterest and everything that we can, all your questions answered. So if you don't know who Elisa is, she is the Senior Product Manager at SEMrush, where she helps agencies offer new services to help their clients grow. She's also a huge Pinterest nerd from the way back when, and one of the first Pinterest pioneers charged with helping people make the most of their Pinterest marketing. She's also kind of like my Pinterest mentor. Don't tell her that. She'll get a big head. But Lisa, thank you so much for being on the show today.
I'm thrilled that it worked out, Jeff. I've been missing this, so thanks.
Yeah. And thank you for coming at the last moment. But I wanted to, before we really dove into Pinterest, and I'll let people kind of get all their questions ready in their mind to ask you, but today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Ecamm, and you can find out more information and download the product by going to socialmedianewslive.com/Ecamm. It's a great product and program. That's what we use for our show. But one of the cool things that they're doing right now, they're cooking this up in their lab. So we know that live selling is hot. I mean, we go over to Amazon every week and put the show over there. But Stephanie Liu is starting her second season of Showrunner, her show called Showrunner, and it's focusing on live selling. So you can actually go to ecam.tv/live selling to get some reminders and sign up to get to know, let yourself know when the show starts. And she's going to be our guest on next week's show. So this is what I suggest, is that you go watch her first Showrunner show. It's going to be on next Thursday. You can sign up once again at ecam.tv/live selling. Watch the show, get a ton of questions, take a bunch of notes, and then come back to our show the next day at 10 a.m. Central on Friday, because she's going to be on our show on the 6th. So get those questions ready, and we'll do a deep dive on live selling. So sound like a plan? Yeah, cool. I'll see you there next week. So ecam.tv/live selling. All right, here we go. Pinterest. So Pinterest, your favorite subject. So I want to do this because there's a lot of people who still don't get Pinterest. They don't understand it. Yep. So let's do a big backup and just like, okay, I've heard Pinterest. I've looked over and seen my wife or girlfriend or whoever, on there doing stuff. What is it? And talk like somebody's totally clueless about Pinterest. What would it be?
Well, a year ago, or maybe a year and a half ago, I would have said it's a visual search and discovery engine. But I think now we have to add it's also a little bit of a social platform.
Would you say that really? You think it's social?
I would say that. And the only reason why is idea pins and the comments that you get on them. I didn't expect any, but I get a lot of them. And I'd be curious to see if anybody else gets them as well. But to me, that really has changed the nature of the platform, and it's what they wanted, and it actually seems to be working.
So you think that idea pins are there? Because to be honest, I see comments, but I don't look at them because they're usually kind of spammy. Aren't they more spammy? Wouldn't you say they're more spammy than no?
No, okay. I think it depends on who sees your pins and what you're sharing, probably to some extent. But the ones I get are actually really good.
Are they your painting? Are they from your painting idea pins? Is that what they're
mostly? From? Yeah.
See,
yeah. I do have. Yeah, I have some that are for Pinterest marketing, but the ones that have the real engagement are the painting ones. Yeah. So people have specific questions, or they comment about what it looks like to them, and I find that for the most part pretty fun.
Okay, I'll give you that. I am so. Comments for such a long time, if you're an old-time Pinterest person, were so spammy and so bad. Join my board or what all this stuff. And I've just tuned out. So I guess I need to dive in there.
They were so spammy, in fact, that Pinterest deleted them.
Right.
They just said, let's start over. And it was a great move because they were able to get the bots out of there and to only allow actual comments.
So Amy says, good comments, I think, are based on what your niche is. So I think it would agree. Now, is it only on idea pins, or is it on your regular pins too that there are comments as well? Because that's how much I tune them out.
Yeah, just idea pins. I mean, if you went on there and you did your wood carving, you did a demonstration on that, you would get nice comments, I think.
Well, we'll have to just test it out.
Try it.
I should. So, and Camilla says, my comments are rarely spammy. So, good, spam but I think she meant spammy. But yes, spammy.
Is that your niche? Camilla, it looks like cooking, maybe recipes.
So
that makes sense.
Okay. So if they're trying to be more social, do you think that is a play? I mean, do you think that matters to the platform, or do you think people go to Pinterest to be social?
It is a play. It does matter, and I think it's changing, right? So we had that year during the pandemic that Gen Z really flocked to Pinterest as a way to figure out how to do things like little projects you could do at home, or how to do your sourdough. So even though people like you and me, old people, have one view of Pinterest, right? It's like I have a project I'm going to do, or I want to collect ideas to do a thing or to buy a thing. People are coming from TikTok generation, right? And they're coming onto Pinterest, and what they want is different from what you and I want. So Pinterest is giving it to them, and it seems to be catching on.
So you're pretty much saying, because I don't read the comments, I'm pretty much saying, get off my lawn, and I need to start.
Yeah, totally.
I need to start.
I understand. Okay. I say this literally. Yes.
Yes. Okay. All righty. Well, so I'll have to start diving in. So, why should, once again, bird's eye view, people who are totally unfamiliar with Pinterest, why should businesses take a second look at Pinterest?
Yeah, I think the reason for that has changed as well. So a couple of years ago, we would have said it's for the referral traffic, right? You could get a ton of free referral traffic from Pinterest to your website. That is not so much the case anymore. I think some pinners are still having success there, but it's they're few and far between, I believe. So it's a lot of it, in my opinion, now has to do with awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So getting people to see your product is key, right? And that's where idea pins come in. And if you look at the distribution of your pins, if you compare videos and static images to idea pins, there's no contest. It's very obvious what Pinterest wants to promote. So you have to think about, what could this type of content do for me? And one of the things it can do is, if you are an e-commerce seller and you have your catalog on Pinterest, which is really easy to do with Shopify, and now WooCommerce
Right.
has an integration too, you can tag your products in idea pins. Now, I do that, and it has not worked for me.
Right.
But in theory, it could be a great way to sell your products in a very entertaining, engaging kind of format.
So I agree. And so with this WooCommerce thing, and I have not tested yet, but are you able to sell digital products, or is it still only physical?
So you can, you can create a product feed for a digital product. However, I tried to do this myself, followed all the rules, and it kept getting rejected and rejected. And I said, I tried to appeal it and just never got anywhere, even though, you should be able to do it,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't get it to work, and they
Right.
couldn't tell me why. So,
So I'm really looking forward to, because WooCommerce is a WordPress plugin. My site is WordPress, and so I'm trying to do that instead of doing some Shopify stuff. So I want to go back to some of our amazing people with their comments. So Camilla says yes, that was recipes. So she was that was
makes
her
sense.
niche.
Mhm.
And so Brian says, and this is what I had for me. It was like comments and messages where people kept sending me their pins. That's where
Oh, that's
I
annoying.
still have a lot of that going on.
Oh,
So
messages are still a
yeah,
mess.
messages are, now we're talking about comments are different than messages. Comments are actually on your pin. They actually have their own emojis. Pinterest has kind of its own emoji
Yeah, the
system.
reactions.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
What
do, oh,
reaction?
this is a great idea, or I love
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. So those are cool. I do like those. Um,
Yeah.
so Jackie says, I don't have much spam. I did see my idea pins views lower over the months after the initial burst.
Yeah.
For me, yes, but it's going in waves. And
Yeah.
when we get
That's
to idea pins, I want to talk about some of best practices for that. So let's put a pin in that, because I want to come back to it.
true.
Sabrina
No
says,
pun
interesting.
intended.
Pinterest always said that they were not a social network, but a search engine. Has their mission changed? That's a
Yeah.
great question, Sabrina.
Yeah.
So
It did.
yeah, they also said that don't use hashtags. Then they said to use them. Then they said to don't again. So if there's one constant about Pinterest, it has
It's always
changed. It's
yeah, yeah,
changing.
but they did make a pretty big announcement at their, was it Pinterest Presents, maybe
Right.
almost 2 years ago now, and they said, we used to be a platform to connect pinners and ideas,
Right.
and they still do that, right, to an extent. But we really want to expand to be a platform that connects pinners with creators. So their definition of creators is basically anyone who makes something. Doesn't matter what it is, right? The concentration is more on the people now, which is interesting. It's not what we went there for originally, but it's
Yeah.
what they wanted, and it seems to be working.
Yeah. And so let's Tori says I need to learn how to share my sandbox again. So yeah, I probably do. I probably need to be a little more social on there. So all right. So kind of we did the 101 thing on Pinterest. So okay, let's say somebody decides, okay, Pinterest, you made sense. You convinced me. I want the traffic from there. I want to have the exposure on Pinterest with my brand. What do I need to do first on Pinterest? So I've not done it before, if I've never been on the platform.
Okay, so you've never done it before. Well, you need to set up an account and claim your
Right?
website.
Yes.
Right? Right? That claiming your website is very important, because Pinterest wants to give you, as a content creator, credit, I guess we could say,
Mm-hmm.
for your work. So do claim it. That way your account will get all the juice when that content is shared. Another thing to do is think about your boards, right? So there was a time when we would say everyone should have these 7 boards because they're engaging and people love them. No, it is really needs to be based on the content that you are creating. If you are not regularly creating content on a topic, you might not need a board for it, right?
Hmm.
But if you look at your blog post categories, look at your product categories, you're going to need a board for each of those likely.
Gotcha. So, all right. So we've talked about for the business. There's also a way that you can claim not just your website, but also claim your YouTube and your. Oh, you're gonna talk about
Yeah,
this and
you would bring this up.
Instagram, your
Yeah.
Instagram, and also isn't it Shopify? Isn't that another one? What all can you claim now?
It was Etsy.
Etsy, yeah.
So now all I have on mobile, and this is changing all the time. I have Instagram, so I can't claim other accounts, and sometimes I don't have the option. Like I don't see an Instagram connection. So there's something going on. I think what I read in community, and I strongly recommend if you're interested in Pinterest that you join their community because you'll find out about things like this. It wasn't really working great, so I think they'll probably bring it back. But right now, I have nothing. Like I'm looking on desktop right now. I can claim my websites, and that is it.
So because I had everything claimed there for a while.
Yeah, so did I, but it's gone. I bet they'll bring it back, but I don't know for sure.
You're right. See, that's why I have you on the show. Because that was great. Because what happens if somebody
Yeah,
would pin your stuff, you would get credit for it. So
yeah.
that's really interesting. And one of the things you have to check because things are different between mobile and desktop a
Mm-hmm.
lot. And so you're like, this was on mobile. Why can't I find it on desktop and vice versa? So
Yes.
we will.
Oh, remember you had even on something different on your tablet?
Yeah,
Like you didn't have it on desktop or mobile, but it was on your tablet. How bizarre.
it
Yeah.
came to my tablet first. So we'll talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit later. So yeah. So Phoebe says, I'm on a laptop and I can't claim anything other than Instagram or Shopify. So I didn't even
Mm-hmm.
see Shopify. So, it's just, anyway. So,
Yeah, that Shopify option is really so you can connect the app and have your feed set up.
right.
But you should be able to see that.
Yeah. And
Strange.
Brian says he has the only ability to claim his website too. So, yeah, one of the things too, you always have to be careful if you don't have like your app or on your iPad set to auto update. Pinterest comes out probably more than any other platform updates to
Mhm.
their app. And so I'm always having to go in there and manually do it because I don't like to have things automatically update because I'm just a control freak. So, um,
Well, it's fun to be able to purposely like go look
yeah,
at the app, then update it and come back and see if you can tell what changed.
yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, that's super nerdy, but
Yeah.
sure.
Tori says it's like throwing darts. Good times. Yeah, yeah. What a glass half full, Tori. That's the way to look at it. Um, so what is the biggest mistake when you see people starting out? What's the biggest mistake that you see them make? I guess we could preface it in 2022 because things are different now than they used to be.
Yeah.
Like you could claim your websites. I mean, claim your
Yeah.
Instagram and all that stuff. So what do you think the biggest mistake is?
Hmm. I think it is having expectations that are no longer valid. Right. So maybe
Mm,
you read a blog post from 2018 that talked about how much traffic you could get by sharing the same static image over and over and over again. The more you share it, the better. You can get lots of activity by sharing other people's content. Like you don't even have to have your own content. Those things may have worked for a time to some extent. They don't work now.
right. Now, that being said, I still get most of my traffic from Pinterest.
Doing it, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I still think it has the longest shelf life. It's not as long as it used to be, but it's way longer than like if you see the other platforms like Twitter or Facebook. I
Hmm.
mean, I'm all
Sure.
about like trying to get the most juice out of my content. And so Pinterest still lasts the longest. So that is still until
Yeah.
that changes, that's still like my number one thing.
Yeah, and I think another big mistake people make is they go on Pinterest, they try it for a few weeks, they don't see anything happening, and they decide it's not going to work, right? Well, Pinterest is not Instagram, right? You post on
Right.
Instagram and you're going to get some instant gratification. You get some comments, some likes. It's going to be fun. Pinterest is a little bit more like search engine marketing, in that you put all this work into it. You really work hard, put great content out, and it's crickets for a little while.
Yeah, it
But
is.
if you hang on, like it starts to pick up, and then it starts to snowball, and it lasts a very long time, like you said.
It's a great point. So that's what the thing is. Pinterest is a long play. It's like
Oh,
SEO,
it's
just
not
like
fun.
Elisa said. It's a long play, but you reap the benefits. And the thing is, it's the reason I did it. It's one of the easiest platforms to
Oh
do
yeah,
because you
yeah,
just you pin things, but you have to be consistent. And so
yeah.
so kind of a flip side of that. What is a best practice that you see people forget about the most on Pinterest? Like what that that if they would just do this one thing and do it consistently, they would probably find success on Pinterest.
Oh boy. Um, I'm torn on this one. So you really cannot have a successful Pinterest account without a successful content strategy, which often goes back to your website or your online store. So, thinking about like, what am I going to post on Pinterest? Well, it depends on what you're creating for your business. And so, just to create for Pinterest with nothing to lead back to your site or no compelling reason to go from Pinterest to your site is going to be a mistake. And the other one I think is just ignoring idea pins. So yeah, Pinterest is a long game, but with idea pins, I don't know about you, but I almost always see quite a bit of distribution at the beginning. And then depending on like who knows, maybe it's depending on engagement. I don't exactly know, but then it will drop off and it will come back in a few weeks, and it's kind of like rolling hills of
Right.
analytics. But it's something happening, which I think is encouraging, especially when you're starting out. You need that.
Yeah. And I totally dissed on idea pins at the beginning. Um, and they're still not my favorite, but you're right. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So, so we've talked about kind of Pinterest 101, why to do it, why businesses should be on it. I think the biggest hiccup, and tell me if I'm wrong, that people,
I will.
you will, they get their mind around is that, it's another it's the vertical. I think now that there's more vertical video and there's more people are used to taking those type of photos on their phone. For
Yeah.
such a long time, it was just so hard for one to create an image for one more platform, and I think that really threw people off. And now I think it's the struggle of, oh, I got to do idea pins. That's like doing TikTok or a reel, and that's kind of a struggle for people. Do you think those are the
Mm.
struggles now that people have?
Yeah, but they're already creating that content, right? So if you are creating content for TikTok, fantastic. You can repurpose that as a pin,
Yes.
right? So you don't want to record it in any kind of app's native camera, though. You want to record it on your regular camera and then use it on all those platforms, because none of the platforms like to see a watermark from another
And they will
platform.
actually drop it in the algorithm. Yeah.
Yes, they will. Yeah. But most people whose content is going to do really great on Pinterest are already creating that content. So, for example, with my painting idea pins, I was already recording my process mostly for myself. I wanted to see like what happens when I do this or I use these colors, or like, because I hated it when I get to the end of a painting and be like, I could never recreate this because I don't remember what I did. It was really for myself. And some people are doing this already,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even if it's not for marketing. So just take what you already have and kind of repackage it in an appealing way and an idea pin.
Yeah, I totally agree. So, and I actually, Rachel Peterson, who's I think the TikTok expert, had a training
Mm-hmm.
yesterday, and she talked about there are some apps that actually you can actually remove the watermark, the TikTok
Yeah.
watermark, if you forget or if you already done it some other way. So you can look for those. But yeah, repurposing. To be honest, I repurpose a lot of this show as idea pins, and they do really, really well
Oh, that's
over
cool.
on Pinterest. So
Yeah.
and I've been doing that for the last couple months, and I actually have been putting them to TikTok as well. So yeah, all that stuff. And yeah, Jackie, who says definitely repurpose content. Agreed. Especially TikTok now lets you go up to 10 minutes with your video. So sometimes
Oh,
things that you thought were too long over on Pinterest, you can actually, move over. And I use, there's an app that actually chops up the video easily. I can't remember what it's Cut Story. That's what it is. And allows you to do that. So you can get those scenes for Pinterest and, all sorts of things. So yeah, I definitely agree. Before we move on from the Pinterest kind of 101, let's see. Tori has another great question, and I know that you get a lot. She goes, what quantity of fresh pins do we need daily and weekly? But first of all, real quick, what are fresh pins? Are they straight from the grocery? What are you talking about, fresh pins?
yeah. Oh man, it feels like we talked about this a whole lot a couple of years ago. Fresh pins, Pinterest definition is a new image, video, or idea pin for a new piece of content on your website.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean you can never like make an idea pin, a static pin, and a video pin for the same content? No, you can do that. Does that mean you can never say like, oh, this idea pin didn't do great. I think the content is really amazing. I need to put a different spin on a different angle to attract the right people. Yeah, you can absolutely do that too.
Very, very cool. Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah,
So,
but numbers, she wanted to know numbers.
yeah.
That one, there's no answer. I mean, when you say what quantity do you need, like need for what? Right? So it depends on what you're trying to do. Um, Pinterest recommends once a week, right? And when you're talking about idea pins, that's plenty, right?
Mm-hmm.
It takes some serious time to make them. But it used to be that pinners would share 20, 30, 50, 100 pins a day. And unless you are Amazon or you're creating 100 new products a day, you just cannot sustain that. So it's going to be based on like your content that you're creating. Like how much content are you putting out that you can reasonably turn into engaging pins and share?
Mm. Very, very cool. So, let's talk about that, because a lot of people ask that question because they
Yeah.
have, and like Dustin Stout, so he said, Pinterest has faded as a top traffic source for me, probably because I stopped focusing on it. And then he goes, he thought for a while there that was a massive traffic source for him. So I think a lot of these questions, like how many fresh pins do I need, because people see their like traffic from Pinterest go down, and they're like, oh, how many more do I need to create to make it go back to where it was or exceed that?
Yeah.
Like if 10
Mhm.
pins were great, then what if I do 20? That would be even better. And that's not usually the same thing. So, should they look at like, okay, for some reason that pin's not resonating with people on the platform, and that's why I'm not getting traffic, so I need to change designs, instead of maybe thinking about, oh, I need to just constantly create new images for a certain blog article. Do you see what I'm saying?
Kind of.
Okay.
So
What do you
are
think
you
they should
asking?
focus on first? Should they work on redesigning it and not just like cranking out a bunch of pins, and maybe worry about the quality of the pin instead of the quantity?
Yes, please. You were feeding me that one. Yeah,
Sorry.
absolutely. It's quality over quantity. And when we're talking about quality on Pinterest, there's kind of a lot that goes into it, right? So the image needs to look great, um, but there's also kind of a relevance score that goes on with Pinterest, which is similar to when you do a Facebook ad, right? And you'll get that relevance score, like how well does the ad tie into the actual piece of content that you're linking to. And then on Facebook, you'll pay less the higher your relevancy score is. Well, on Pinterest, they want your pins to be relevant to your content as well. Because what they don't want is for someone to click on a pin that's showing like how to garden with containers, and then they send you to an article that has to do with shoes, right?
Right, right,
That
right.
bait and switch, and like that's obvious, and we would never do that. But it's even there's even more than that. So it's if you're showing a photograph of a container garden and it's linking to your blog post about container gardens, it's good if you can have very similar images from pin to post.
Hmm. So
Doesn't
that
mean
could,
you can't experiment, but generally they want to see consistency between the pin, the title of the pin, the description of the pin, and what is on the website, because they actually do they look at that.
yeah. And would you say that Pinterest is still forgiving of experimentation? Like
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's one of the most, the biggest one that lets you do stuff. So I would say that it's okay to experiment. Don't freak out trying new things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Just don't go overboard with quantity, especially.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk real quick about the state of Pinterest in 2022. So let's say, oh gosh, Elisa, you've told me everything I need to know. This is amazing. Why I haven't been on Pinterest yet? So am I too late to the party if I try to start an account and go to Pinterest right now? Is it too late?
No, it isn't. And I think part of that has to do with idea pins. Like there are some people who have been on Pinterest a long time who just will not use idea pins, right? So there's less competition for those who will use them.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And just to mention, like the reason people resist idea pins is that you can't link to your website, but you can link to your products, and they do get incredible distribution. So should you use them? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because it's like that's changed the nature of Pinterest, it almost feels like a little bit of a reset. So if you're coming in, you don't have to feel like you're never going to succeed because everyone's been on here forever.
Yeah. And I think that because idea pins are relatively new, I mean, I think it's still the Wild West. And my thing is like, listen, if you creating idea pins and on Pinterest, you are doing more than probably your competition is, because it's still, most people aren't taking the time to do that. And so you are getting ahead by doing stuff like that. Amy has a really specific question. She goes, can you use the same words used on your site as the description for your pin? You were talking about the images being, similar going across from pin to that. Would it make sense to do the same thing with the description?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So they do look at things like meta tags on your source page, right? And
Mm-hmm.
see if they can kind of match it up with your pin. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've had this question before, but we've talked about it before, but I thought it was good to bring it up. Is there any businesses that you wouldn't recommend to be on Pinterest? Remember, we got in
Yeah.
trouble when we said this earlier. I said a mortician, and we actually had morticians write in and say, yeah, you could do counseling stuff and da 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 da. I'm like, so I don't say it anymore. So, is there
Yeah.
anything that you wouldn't say couldn't be on Pinterest?
I think you could make a case for just about any business, but I think there are some that are a much more obvious fit that are going to be less of a struggle and more rewarding, right? So, for instance, something that is always, always trending on Pinterest are nail designs.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Like, I've never looked at the trends and not seen nails of some sort pop up. So, like, if you're in one of those obvious industries, it's going to be a lot easier and a
Right.
lot more fun than if you're in, I
Social
don't know,
media. Yeah.
cement or social media or morticians. Like, even though, I mean, I guess it could work now with idea pins where you could become the counselor for people who lost somebody. Like
Yeah.
that could actually work really well.
So yeah, because I've seen pet like bereavement stuff, like for pet cemeteries and stuff, be on there. I'm like, what? And I think anything where you can show something visually will do. What you said, cement. I've seen cement things in there. How to
You?
pour. Yeah, how to pour around your fire
Mm,
pit. How to do all this stuff. I've seen the thing that really, even like rug cleaning, which I thought was so like localized. And we had a question about local businesses if there could be on
mm,
Pinterest, and they can, because this pin and I used to use it in my talks all the time, had so many views to it, and it was a before and after, and they showed what they did. They showed this disgusting rug, and then how beautiful they made it after, and people ate it up. And so, and then they gave rug team. I mean, it clicked over to how to clean your own rug, but if you can't, here's us.
we'll do it
So
for you.
I think
Well,
any creative, but
but okay, so that was a local business, right? That you're
yeah,
talking about. Okay. Well, they might have a million views on their content, but how many of those people, one, are in their local area, like their service area, and two, will click over and find them? It's a very small number. So when a local business asks me about this, I'll say, well, you can do it, but you're going to be working hard to get distribution to people who could never hire you,
mm, that's
right?
a great point.
So
And yeah,
yeah. Yeah, but you can, like, what I would suggest for local business is to try advertising because you can target by zip code, city, all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's what I would suggest too is the advertising. And
Mm.
Brian and I actually had a conversation about this over on Volley, and you can actually chat with us anytime at socialmedianewslive.com/chat. It's our Volley channel where we can leave messages back and forth. But Brian was saying that too because he's a photographer. He does wedding photographer, and he was getting all this traffic from Pinterest, but it wasn't converting. There are a lot of
Mhm.
looky-loos. They were seeing that, maybe even like looking for a style, but
Yeah.
that's a real struggle for people. Like, I've got this
Mhm.
product, and Pinterest is working. It's working. It's driving
Yeah.
traffic. So you
Yeah,
have to
but,
go ahead.
it there's another thing, and this may be more than a person wants to do, but if you're finding that you're getting that tons of traffic and lots of engagement, but you're not getting your local business, the business that you want, is there something you could create that these people could buy?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, I know you remember my very first Pinterest client, and I'll never forget either.
The green smoothie.
He Yeah, he was a nutritionist, right? And he was a pharmacist, but he had an online, like, he had a virtual or like a long distance consulting he would do. So, like, if you could add something like that or add a course or something that people can buy from anywhere, then you can make more out of that traffic.
That's a great point. Did you get that, Brian? Because that is something that you're a great photographer. You could teach a lot of people on how to do photography. So
Yeah.
we'll
I
talk.
mean,
We'll talk
again, like, he
offline.
might not want to, but
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. So let's use the rest of our time because we only got a little bit left. So you guys make sure you ask your questions of Lisa while we still got her because she was nice enough to drop everything. I think were you giving a dog a bath? I'm not sure what you're doing, but anyway, she dropped everything and came in to help us out today. But one of the things I want to talk about is idea pins because we've mentioned them before. What they are like stories that live forever that are tied to your account on Pinterest. That
yeah.
have up to 20 different panels. They can be images or video. You can actually go edit kind of afterwards a little bit, but they are tied to your account. They don't go away. You can go edit. I think it's up to a week. You can edit some things.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I
Um,
haven't been able to do
I
that.
never
Okay.
do it because I'm so perfect. I never have any problem.
No, of course.
Yeah, whatever. Um, but they are really hot right now. They're driving
Yeah.
traffic. And we won't have time to get to it, but I'm part of the creator hub that pays creators to make idea pins. And it's kind of a
Yeah.
hot mess right now. I know you're a little mad that you don't get it.
Well,
And
no,
you're not
but you
missing.
know what? I was checking it, and for the very first time, it
You
is
got it?
here. It is here. My entire creator hub disappeared for weeks, and I just went on today, and I have creator rewards new $0.
That's probably why they dropped all the prices because they're letting Lisa on.
They're letting me
That's what
let
it
me
is.
in. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't want to give me any money.
So, but anyway, idea pins. So they don't link out. You can't like link to
Mm-mm.
your blog post or something like that. You can
And
use
unless
okay,
you can link to your products, right?
right. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah. And that's key. Yeah.
And you can have affiliate links. Like there's a certain
Mm-hmm.
amount of affiliates that let you do. Not every affiliate, but like Amazon's one of them. So you can have
Yeah.
like I could do an idea pin about all the stuff I used to go live with, my microphone, my
Sure.
Stream Deck, all the stuff.
Yeah.
And I could link out to all of those products over on Amazon. So
Can. Yeah. And people will always ask, well, how about this program or that program? And it's like, just try it, because if it's not an approved affiliate, the link just plain won't work. You're not going to
right.
break anything or get any trouble by trying. So just give it a try.
Yeah. And so like and the other thing is, would you not say that this has made your profile even more important on Pinterest because
Oh,
that's the only link that you get, right?
yeah. Yeah. So at the end of your idea pin, there's going to be a link to follow or go to your profile. Yeah. So what they see depends on whether you have a store or not. So they might see your, what is it, your shop,
Mhm.
or your created or your saved, right?
Right.
If you don't have a shop, they're going to see your created pins. So yeah, make sure they're good.
Yeah. So that's kind of so. Any other best practices before you go that we need to talk about before for idea pins because I mean you
Mhm.
need to do them. They do live forever. They're tied to your account. So
Yeah. Uh, I would say keep on the watch for idea pin ads. They were going to come out in February. I haven't seen them yet, but in the dashboard
it's
for
there.
ads,
Yeah.
it like there are columns for the data, which is funny because you can't actually do it yet. But I think that's going to be really powerful. And you'll be able to link to anything you want when you pay.
Yes. Very, very cool.
So I think that's going to make it obviously harder for the rest of like people who aren't paying. But I can't wait to try them.
Cool. You have time for one more question?
Yep.
Okay. This is from Dennis. He goes, I've heard that Pinterest doesn't support Etsy any longer. My static pins still seem to connect to my Etsy product. Have you heard anything about that?
No, I haven't. Again, I would go into the community. So it's community.pinterest.com. I think it redirects you, but I don't know. I would think it would still bring in your shoppable pins or like your buyable pins. Don't know.
Not Bible, buyable. I always do the same thing. Buyable. Yeah.
Yes, buyable pins.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as you can pin anything you want from any site, right? Just whether it's one of those ones that has the price and all that good stuff on it.
So before we go, because I know you got to run, where can people find out about all the things Elisa Meredith?
Okay, well, it's Elisa M. Meredith on Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest, and my website, elisameredith.com. I would love to hear from you.
Yes, awesome. And by the way, she is also, Elisa, and she will show up, but she's also in our volley group. So I know we cut this one a little bit short today, but she will answer questions. If you go to socialmedianewslive.com/chat, you can join our volley group. It's a really, really cool thing. We're going to be talking about it more. It lets you communicate directly with us. It's asynchronous, so it's kind of like voicemail, video mail kind of a thing, and we can talk back and forth. It's very, very cool. socialmedianewslive.com/chat. Elisa, thank you so much for being here. And by the way, thank you guys for showing up for this show. Sabrina, Ian, Tori, Jackie, all you guys, thank you. Let us know what you think about this Pinterest episode. Would you like some more? Because we would love to talk about it. Let us know down below in the comments. And with that, make sure you tune in next week. We'll be talking about live selling with Stephanie Liu. That is on Friday, May 6th at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central. And we're always on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Amazon Live. We're also a podcast. We'd love for you guys to leave us a rating and review. Make sure you just go to your favorite podcast player, do a search, and we will be right there. And we'd love for that rating and review. And with that, we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
We'll see you next week.
Hey, Matt, hold on, man. We need to talk.
Okay, what's up?
It's 2022, man. As much as you're on Zoom between your team meetings, your group coaching sessions, and webinars, you really need to show up when you show up, especially since you're saving and sharing these recordings.
Okay, but you know I'm not techie, so help me out.
I know, but you know what? Let me show you how you can quickly add some boom to your Zoom meetings with Ecamm Live. First, you can connect your pro camera and then bring that into Zoom via Ecamm Live's virtual camera feature. But unlike the raw camera feed, you can adjust your picture settings like this. Boom, 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 boom. And then you can add a LUT on top of it. But before you ask me what a LUT is, it's like an Instagram filter, but for video. Once you've got your camera quality looking incredible, you can start thinking about sound effects and audio that you wouldn't be able to do in Zoom. Think background music, video clips, or even applause or laugh tracks to keep your viewers engaged. So you can add your logo to the corner, and you can even add a QR code or swap it out with your social media handle. In fact, you can drag and drop any image or video, even GIFs. And you can add a PDF, PowerPoint, or Keynote presentation. And you can add in picture-in-picture and adjust the size and shape so it's not that sad little box we used to see in. And you can record the full quality video of yourself right on your computer in addition to your Zoom recording. So you can repurpose the video for social media, YouTube, a masterclass. It's right there. So you don't need a videographer, a producer, or an editor to level up your Zoom meetings. You just need Ecamm Live.
Man, this is exactly what I need.
Boom. All right, man, I'll send over that invoice.
What?